My friends, let us first consider the concept of the mirror. When we extend kindness, compassion, or generosity to another, we are in essence reflecting a light. But what happens when the recipient is not comfortable with the light, perhaps because it illuminates their own shadows, their insecurities, their perceived inadequacies? It is a common human tendency to project our inner turmoil outwards. If someone is deeply insecure, your unwavering kindness can inadvertently highlight their own perceived lack of virtue, their own struggles with generosity, or their own feelings of unworthiness. It's not about you, it's about what your presence, your very being, triggers within them. Imagine a person who has always struggled with self-worth. They believe, deep down, that they are not deserving of good things, not worthy of genuine affection. When you approach them with pure, unadulterated kindness, it can create a cognitive dissonance within them. Their internal narrative tells them, "I am not worthy of this," while your actions contradict that belief. This contradiction can be uncomfortable, even painful. To resolve this discomfort, their mind might resort to a defense mechanism, finding fault with you. They might rationalize your kindness as weakness, as having an ulterior motive, or as being naive. They might think, no one is truly that kind. They must want something. This projection allows them to maintain their established internal narrative of unworthiness, rather than confronting the difficult truth that they might be capable of receiving and deserving of genuine goodness. This is a profound point, for it reveals that the animosity is a shield, protecting them from a deeper vulnerability they are not yet prepared to face. It is easier to believe you are flawed than to admit their own perceived flaw. Furthermore, your kindness might expose their own struggles with being kind to themselves or to others. If they are accustomed to a world of competition, suspicion, or harshness, your gentle demeanor can be disorienting. It challenges their worldview, which might be rigid and deeply ingrained. They might interpret your peace as complacency, your generosity as foolishness, or your patience as a lack of ambition, because these qualities do not align with their established mechanisms for survival or success in what they perceive as a harsh world. These interpretations are not a reflection of your character, but rather a profound insight into their own internal landscape, shaped by their unique experiences, past traumas, and unresolved emotional burdens. They are reacting from a place of their pain, not your intent. Consider, for example, someone who grew up in an environment where every act of kindness was followed by a demand, a hidden cost, or a betrayal. Their nervous system has been conditioned to associate overt kindness with impending danger or exploitation. When you, with genuine open-heartedness, offer support or comfort, their system does not register it as safety. Instead, it triggers an alarm. They might instinctively pull away, become defensive, or even lash out, not because of anything you've done wrong, but because your kindness has inadvertently activated their deepest fears and past wounds. Their hate is a primal scream of protection, a reflexive pushback against what their conditioned mind perceives as a threat. It is crucial to understand that their animosity is rarely a personal attack on who you are, but rather an expression of what they are struggling with internally. They are reacting to an internal discomfort, and you inadvertently have become the external trigger for that discomfort. Recognizing this allows us to detach from the personal sting of their reaction and to view it with a broader, more compassionate understanding. This understanding cultivates what we call equanimity, the ability to remain calm and centered amidst external turbulence. When we grasp that their hate is often a cry of pain or a defense mechanism against their own vulnerability, we can respond not with hurt, but with an unwavering sense of our own truth. Our kindness in these instances serves not as a bridge for immediate connection, but as a mirror reflecting back what they are not yet ready to see or accept within themselves. It is an invitation to healing, but one they must choose to accept on their own time, and often the initial response to such a profound invitation is resistance. This resistance is not a judgment of your light, but a testament to the shadows they are still holding. For individuals who thrive on control, manipulation, or gaining advantage, your pure kindness can be perceived as a profound threat, They might struggle to understand your motives because they cannot fit them into their established frameworks of self-interest. Their worldview is often built on the premise that everyone has an angle, everyone wants something. Your sincerity therefore becomes a mystery, and mysteries for those who seek control can breed deep suspicion and mistrust. They may suspect a hidden agenda, believing that everyone ultimately acts out of selfish reasons. What's the catch? Becomes their default internal question. They might interpret your unconditional giving as a weakness that can be exploited, or worse, as a subtle form of superiority that makes them feel inadequate in their own transactional approach to life. Their inability to comprehend your genuine motivations leads them to attribute negative ones. Why are they so nice? They might wonder, what do they really want from me? Nobody does something for nothing. This line of questioning, born from their own cynicism, their past experiences of being used or of using others, and their deeply entrenched survival mechanisms, prevents them from accepting your kindness at face value. It is easier to believe you are manipulative than to believe in pure altruism, as believing in altruism would challenge their fundamental operating system for human interaction. Furthermore, authentic kindness can expose the shallow nature of their own relationships, which might be built solely on quid pro quo arrangements, superficial exchanges, or power dynamics. When they witness your genuine connections, formed through empathy, selfless acts, and mutual respect, it can highlight the emptiness of their own interactions. This realization can be profoundly uncomfortable, stirring a deep-seated feeling of inadequacy or even envy, which often manifests as resentment rather than inspiration. They may choose to resent you for making them confront this uncomfortable truth about the quality of their own connections, rather than reflecting on their own behaviors and seeking deeper, more meaningful engagement. Your peace, your calm, your inner freedom, all products of a life lived with integrity and kindness, can be perceived as an indictment of their own restless, calculating existence. They might even try to test your kindness, to find its limits, to see if they can break your composure or uncover a hidden flaw, simply to validate their belief that no one can be truly good or selfless. This testing is a desperate attempt to reaffirm their worldview and protect their psychological comfort zone. They might push boundaries, exploit generosity, or even provoke, hoping to find a crack in your facade that confirms their cynical belief. Their animosity in this context is a defense against the uncomfortable truth that a different, more fulfilling way of interacting with the world exists, a way they may not yet be ready or willing to embrace. Your kindness therefore becomes a mirror not just of their insecurity, but of their fundamental operating system for human connection, which they may cling to fiercely even if it brings them little joy or genuine connection. It's a testament to the power of authentic living. It can be so potent that it disarms or even threatens those who are not yet aligned with such a path. Consider a workplace where backbiting, gossip, and competitive maneuvering are commonplace, perhaps even rewarded implicitly. In such an environment, your consistent choice of kindness, your offer of genuine help, and your refusal to engage in negativity directly disrupt the normal way of doing things. You are not playing by their rules. Your positive demeanor can make others feel profoundly uncomfortable because it implicitly exposes their own complicity in the negative environment. They might feel implicitly judged by your mere presence, even if you are not judging them explicitly in word or deed. This discomfort can be very powerful. To cope with it, the group might collectively turn against you, branding you as naive, too soft, unrealistic, or even fake. This serves to re-establish the group's internal equilibrium and reinforce its existing norms, a collective defense mechanism to maintain their shared reality. Your kindness is not hated for what it is, but for what it reveals about the group and its members. It challenges their collective comfort zone, their shared identity, and the very foundation of their interaction. The fear that your positive influence might disrupt their established patterns or even lead to a necessary but uncomfortable re-evaluation of their own behaviors and the group's collective values can trigger a defensive, even aggressive response. It's not about you, but about the change you represent. Your individual integrity and kind conduct in this light become a powerful, albeit often unspoken, critique of their collective behavior. For that, you might be met with resistance and animosity rather than admiration, because true admiration would require them to acknowledge their own shortcomings and consider a different path, which is often a daunting prospect. The group's survival in their mind depends on maintaining its existing structure, and your light becomes a disruptive force they instinctively push back against. Sometimes our kindness might be interpreted through a distorted lens, perhaps due to someone's past trauma or negative experiences. Imagine a child who was showered with gifts by an absent parent, only for those gifts to be followed by further neglect or emotional manipulation. For that individual, as an adult, a simple gesture of generosity, even from a well-meaning friend, might trigger an unconscious association with past hurt. They might perceive your gift as a form of manipulation, a precursor to disappointment, or a way to buy their affection. A simple gesture of support might be seen as patronizing by someone who has a deep-seated fear of dependence, interpreting your help as an insinuation that they are incapable or weak. Offering help might be perceived as an insinuation of their incompetence by someone with fragile self-esteem. Your directness, even if meant kindly and truthfully, could be seen as aggression by someone sensitive to confrontation due to past experiences of verbal abuse. The recipient filters your actions through their own unique set of biases, fears, and past hurts, and their interpretation might be vastly different from your intended meaning. They are not reacting to your kindness, but to their perception of it, shaped by their own internal world and history. Moreover, kindness can sometimes create an unspoken expectation, particularly if it's perceived as a recurring pattern. If you consistently go out of your way to help someone, offer advice, or provide emotional support, they might begin to take your generosity for granted. It slowly shifts from being an appreciated gift to an assumed right. When, for whatever reason, you are unable to meet that expected level of kindness, perhaps you are busy, you have your own challenges, or simply cannot assist in a particular instance, they might feel disappointed, slighted, or even betrayed. Their gratitude can quickly turn into resentment, not because you were unkind, but because you failed to meet an expectation that they, often unconsciously, had placed upon you. This is a common pitfall. The more we give, the more some people might feel entitled to receive, and any deviation from that perceived entitlement can spark negativity. They might not even recognize their own entitlement. Instead, they might feel a vague sense of injustice, believing you have somehow failed them or changed for the worse. They might think, "But you always help me with this," or "You used to be so understanding," without acknowledging the burden of their own expectation. Imagine you have been wronged by someone, perhaps deeply, and despite their actions, you choose to respond with kindness, perhaps by offering forgiveness, understanding, or even continued support without recrimination. This unexpected kindness can trigger immense guilt within the person who wronged you. They might have anticipated anger, retribution, coldness, or even a prolonged conflict which would have allowed them to justify their actions or externalize blame. Your gentle, non-retaliatory response shatters their expectations and forces them to face the stark contrast between your generosity and their own past actions. This feeling of guilt can be so profoundly uncomfortable that, rather than embracing humility, seeking reconciliation, or taking responsibility, they might lash out in anger or resentment. They might feel that your kindness makes them look worse, or that it's a subtle form of moral superiority, an implicit accusation that highlights their own failings. It is psychologically easier for them to hate you, to demonize you, or to find fault with you than to confront their own sense of shame and culpability. They would rather believe you are manipulative or insincere than face their own conscience. In essence, your kindness in these situations acts as a catalyst for their own internal struggle with conscience. They are not hating you, they are hating the uncomfortable feelings that your presence evokes within them. Feelings of regret, shame, and the challenging demand to face their own capacity for wrongdoing and the possibility of a different path. Our path, therefore, is not to cease our kindness, but to understand this profound dynamic and to cultivate an even deeper compassion. This compassion allows us to see beyond the surface animosity to the deeper pain that fuels it, knowing that sometimes what appears as hatred is merely a desperate form of resistance to self-discovery and the difficult yet ultimately liberating path of true accountability and self-acceptance frees us. Let your kindness be a constant, unwavering light, understanding that not everyone is ready to walk in its full embrace. Your light is not meant to force them into the light, but simply to exist, offering a path should they choose to take it. My dear friends, the journey of understanding why people may harbor animosity even when met with kindness is not about self-pity or changing who you are. It is about profound self-awareness and unwavering inner strength. It is about recognizing that often what appears as hate is a projection, a defense mechanism, a misunderstanding, or a reflection of another's internal struggle. Your kindness is a gift, a powerful force in the world. Continue to offer it, not for recognition or reciprocal affection, but because it is the essence of your being, the true nature of the enlightened heart. In doing so, you cultivate an unshakable peace, a fortress within, impervious to the external storms of others' reaction. Your actions remain pure, your heart remains open, and your peace remains undisturbed. This is the true mastery. Thank you.